ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet again another semi-weekly episode of the Modzu Hangout. This week we're going to be discussing yet another part of the worklog for beginners, doing some basic photography chat and what it is that we do to make our stuff look good when we present it to you. And this is either through our various hardware reviews or the different PC builds that the various modders have put out. With me today we've got Bill.
Hey everybody.
And Chris.
Hello.
The Modski.
Yeah.
Hoorah.
I don't know about you guys, but I just sent all my stuff out to a professional photography studio because I'm rich like that.
All right, well, that's the end of this week's modcast. And
done, and see you guys next week.
And their number and website is... No.
There are so many different things that we could get into as far as the, what brand of body do you use? How many different lenses do you have?
I'm not ready for that.
No, we're not. We're not talking about that stuff. What we're talking about is, finding a good spot, something with a good background, or making your own background.
Why were we gone, Droog? Where were we? How come we didn't show up last Sunday?
Oh, well, there are people who celebrate Easter and, family time and all that good fun stuff. And so we let them have that week off.
Oh, they got the week off, but we were here waiting for you and you didn't show up.
What do you mean you were waiting for me to show up, man? You're the one that said you had so many projects built up. Yell at me because you're doing your homework.
What's happened at the Mods over the last couple weeks? I'm curious. I've been tunnel visual. Yeah, I've been working on these projects. I'm just wondering, what have I missed, Mosquito? What's been going on?
You've missed? Well, if I'm honest, almost nothing from the review. I don't think we've had any at all as far as new reviews in the past couple of weeks. So I pretty much have the same news as last week. I have the Deep Cool Dew case. I've done most of the pictures for that. I just have to do the final system install. I'm working on waiting for a Streacom case, which is a fanless chassis, and it's super slim. It's like 2.5 inches thick, I think, total. So I think that one will be kind of fun. Graham is still working on the Fantex P400S. Jesse still has the Thermaltake Core P5, some ASIO mechanical keyboards, and a Fantex power combiner. And I think that covers everything that I'm aware of as far as reviews.
And why is it that NZXT looks like the photo was taken with a fisheye lens? Look at that thing. It's like
it's the cake.
I know. That is crazy.
Yeah, so be sure to check out some of the... Yeah, this is what happens when you put a fisheye lens on your camera and start taking pictures.
Case on steroids. Look at that thing.
Looks like somebody dropped it in the oven and then they hooked up an air compressor to one of the inlets.
But yeah, so head on over to themodzu.com and check out some of our reviews. We do have a number of reviews. There's been quite a few different things, a lot of cases and peripherals lately. So the next thing on the agenda is a project highlight, and this is Project XO by either Willie Deho or Willie Dejo. I'm not really sure.
Or WD-40, the Australian version.
There you go. No, I meant the user.
Oh, there's his name. Okay.
Depending on how you pronounce your J's. I don't know. This is a scratch build that he's been working on, and it's been a lot of aluminum, and he got it painted. He hung it up and painted it himself, and kind of showed this is a cool little device. It's like a little pump that you put on a canister, and then you put whatever paint you want in it, and then it pumps up, and you can use it to spray paint that's not necessarily in a can. So that's kind of cool, actually. He kind of has a bright orange color, and he's painted the graphics card part of the shroud, which I think is pretty sweet. Normally that's just silver.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got some pictures of where he hung it up in the backyard. See, you don't have to get fancy.
No, you don't. I mean, perfect ventilation too, right? As
Yeah.
long as the temperature is good.
Yep, and that hopefully not too windy and
Yeah.
blowing stuff around. So he's got
There's
a
nothing quite like a chunky finish.
textured. Yeah, so he's got that painted orange and
Interesting.
black for the
Kind of a DIY erector set approach to building a chassis.
kinda.
Huh, I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So he's got a couple of pictures here of starting the system installer, showing some of the layouts. So I think that'll be a fun one to keep an eye on. I'm looking forward to that one. That one's always fun. People having some fun making a scratch build. I have a soft spot for scratch builds.
Yeah, especially when it's very easy stuff you can do on your own, you know.
Absolutely. So that's what I had for this week's updates.
Cool. Well, I've noticed that there's been a lot of activity in the forum and the worklog areas when I drop in, and that's awesome. And if you've watched one of our Hangouts, especially now that we're doing this topic again about worklogs, which is going to be an ongoing series, let us know that you caught us in a Hangout and it inspired you to finally join the forum and start one so we can actually share it. Like, hey, here's an individual here that's watching our series, and here's what they're doing. And, you know, as you guys know, it's all about the photos, really. I mean, nice photos separate your stuff from everybody else if you just take the time to do good photos. And what we're going to do today is just talk about the basics of how to set up the right environment for your photos. And like just grabbing stuff around your house or cheap stuff you can get from like a home improvement store. You don't have to necessarily go out to, you know, hey, we know that photography equipment is super expensive. And we're just going to offer you some low-buck solutions. And already we've got some chat going on if the guys watching through our YouTube channel, the video. Ask them what type of camera equipment they have. Let's see here. Insolent Gnome, Dave. I've got a pretty nice Fuji for my final picks. It's a point and shoot with a ton of manual controls. And my Galaxy S6 for build log picks. Guys, would you agree if you've got, especially a smartphone today, it's okay to use your smartphone to take work log pictures?
If it takes decent pictures, yes. Yeah. But if it's beat up and the lens is all scratched and stuff, probably not a good idea.
Yeah, and it doesn't like low light environments.
Yeah. I mean, really, you can use whatever. I mean, even if you have like some $6,000 camera from 40 years ago that's still on film and you just have to import those to your computer somehow, as long as the pictures look good, who cares how you take them, really?
As a wise man once said, the best camera that you have is the one that's in your hand at the moment.
Well, you have a bad roll of film. That wouldn't be very good.
Well, just in general, though, if you find yourself, Bill and I were discussing before we got started that he's the guy that will walk around for hours just looking for that spot that's got the great lighting already built in. And if he happens to find something like that and has his smartphone on him but nothing else, then that's the camera. Yeah,
absolutely.
You got to capture what you've got to capture.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this, and I only can brag about doing that because one of my friends is a lighting. One of his specialties is professional lighting for photo shoots, Brian Garrity, and he's done some of my past project photos. And hanging around with Brian, I learned the importance of good lighting, which I never really thought of. And most people don't think about how important good lighting is. You don't want to go out into direct sunlight, take your pictures, and have the colors washed out, whatever you're taking a picture of. You want to find like a shaded spot with low light. And then, you know, some cameras don't like low light shooting, some do. And it's just a matter of experimenting with the different settings on it. But really, my point is that it's all about the lighting, guys.
And that much I really agree with. When I first started, my first two reviews, I did the Sonos headphones, and then I did the dark side LED strips, the ultra brights. and those pretty much took care of themselves as far as lighting went. I only had to worry about making sure that when I was doing the close-ups under, of the PCB, I didn't want to blow out the silk screening. But when I was shooting the lights themselves, I didn't really need to worry too much about finding the proper balance or shadow or anything like that because they're LEDs. They provide their own light, and all you're doing is you're trying to keep color fidelity. And in my case, I ended up also using the there was a great fractal like lens flaring within all of the camera elements that looked really great after everything was all said and done. But I had to sit there and I had to tweak colors more than anything. The headphones, on the other hand, shiny piano black, so any kind of dust, dirt, smudging, all of that. Suddenly, if I had the light wrong, I either had a glaring white block coming across the top of the headphones, or you could see every single imperfection. And so finding the best way to angle the lights, try to get the lights at a better distance. I think that was the trick I ended up using, was try to get the lights as far away as I could without casting shadow on everything, just so I wouldn't end up with those huge blasts of light coming off of that piano black.
Well, that's the thing too. You have to decide, like, the object that you're taking a picture of. Are we talking? Do we need a bright white background, or do we need like a dark gray background? Sometimes a black background. I'm watching the chat inside the YouTube video, and Todd K says, "Well, and the topic of low lighting, that depends. I had some low light photos that looked super dramatic," and he said what he did is he threw an orange garbage bag over a room light to create a low lighting atmosphere. And I agree. You can make some things really dramatic if you can manipulate light. It's just a matter of experimenting. But I think really it depends on what the object is that you're trying to take a picture of.
And the other thing too is experiment. I mean, you don't have to share every picture you take. I mean, I take probably close to 700 or 800 pictures per build log, and even for reviews, that's a very controlled circumstance, and I still end up with like 80 or 90 pictures, and then I weed it out to like 30 that actually get published.
Absolutely.
Wow, I've averaged about 400 to get 12.
It happens. Any professional photographer has a full shoot of just pictures going on and on and on and on. And there's a slight difference. Like today I was taking pictures of a build, and there's a screen on the front of it, and there's a reflection from something else in the room on it. And so I had to take like umpteen different pictures until I got the right angle and stuff like that. That's just like, because we take pictures so often of our stuff, we get more attuned to like what little details to watch for that the average person may miss. What you got here?
This was Dancing Iridescence, and Brian DeGarrity took pictures of that once I had it finished. And we took probably 100 photos, and I ended up with 2. I mean, that's all I wanted, was just 2. But like, you can see how he's got all kinds of stuff set up, like things to diffuse the light and
scrims, he calls them.
And somewhere along the line, he was moving something, and all of a sudden he took out the diffuser and had just a direct light. And you can see how crazy that side panel popped out.
Yeah.
And so that's how we ended up with this as one of the pictures. Like, that's direct light on the side is how he got that. I mean, and that was just kind of through, well, I wonder what happened if I don't, and then just, holy crap, look at that.
Manipulating light, controlling light.
And then this was another scenario where I wanted direct light just to show off the grain patterns. Like, if you have something that reflects differently, because like, here's an inside picture. Not quite the same.
Not as exciting.
Take it outside and bam.
Yeah.
So just, I guess the point is, don't be afraid of experimenting with different things. You could easily try one thing and just go, well, that sucked, I'm not going to do that again, and then try something else. When it's a digital camera, it's like free. Like, the negligible cost of charging your battery for that one picture is pretty insignificant.
Totally. Like when you first got started, like, and I got first started taking pictures, and you're trying to take it up to the pro level next, right? You're like, all right, I'm doing this work log, and I don't want to have like parts on my bedspread versus maybe somewhere on a workbench where I can really make it more about like the actual work that I've executed in the photo. And what I would do is kind of like just grab a white bed sheet and find somewhere with decent lighting, like under a fluorescent light, and just start taking pictures with a bed sheet of all things. And then I learned, and this I still have one here, is you can either on Amazon or art supply stores, you can buy poster boards, or like Michael's here in the States, you can buy these big poster boards for like $4 a piece, and you can, if you're in an environment like in an apartment or a dorm room or something, and you just need solid black or white as a background because you don't want to use a sheet or whatever, you can do that. And then you can go outside, just find somewhere in the shade where there's just a one color palette, like that's either a light gray or white for a background. Just find what's around you.
Yeah, and to Bill's point, right now I'm sharing, these were some pictures from one of my scratch builds, one of my early scratch builds, and you can kind of see how it's not that easy to see what's going on. So I just
There's a lot of stuff going on, dude.
Yeah, like Bill showed, I just had a black piece of tag board, and then I put another white one behind it, and now all of a sudden it's really easy to see what's going on.
From Moss's office to what looks like could have been a photo studio somewhere.
But sometimes it's unavoidable.
But yeah, well, that was just a low buck idea that really makes what you're working on the focus. And I think when you treat like a work log like a magazine article, when you look at an article on something and you see how everything's laid out, that's the same way you want to treat your work log. So the viewer gets right away what you're doing, and they're not distracted by other things going on,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's not to say don't show what your surroundings are like.
Yeah,
sometimes that's interesting too. But if what you're trying to show is this one specific thing, don't show everything. Like,
yeah.
Like distracted and be like, well, what are you trying to show here? I don't know.
What's going on right now? Exactly. Yeah, well, it is fun. There was a modder that some of you guys may recognize called, his name was Tribal Overkill. Several years he disappeared, but when he came onto the scene, back on like when Hard OCP community and BitTech, he had some work logs on BitTech as well. What he would do along in his work logs is he would have different like cartoon character stuffed animals or whatever kind of show up in the work log holding tools or having battles with one another. And it was really fun because it played a role in the progress of what he was doing. Well, your kitty, your cat just said nuts to that. You didn't lock the door, dude.
No, I let him in because he was whining.
Oh, you want to let him in? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, because he's been here. He's been watching squirrels and stuff out the window.
Oh, well, there you go. You got to let the kitty do what he wants to do. It's just going to be a battle.
Otherwise, he's just going to sit outside the door and whine all the entire time, and then you hear.
Exactly. But, it's fun too. Pets. It's fun to see what type of pets people have that get involved. A lot of people have dogs that will sit and hang out and watch while you're working on stuff. Show them too. It's fun. It gives us a little taste of what your environment and what you're like.
I think part of that is that it kind of humanizes you, so to speak. Like people can relate if you have pets or whatever, or like, oh yeah, it's kind of interesting seeing your story more so than just your work, And that's kind of what work logs in a community are all about, is getting together with your online friends. I mean, even if you never meet them in person, you can still make some pretty good connections with people just through communities.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to know about the builder as well? I mean, especially when you've got builders from all around the world, like that Project Log WD, he's in Australia. and we've got people from Germany, the Netherlands, all over, and the States too. What was I going to mention? Something else I was going to mention. Oh man, it just went up and over me. I think your kitty distracted me.
Squirrel.
Yeah, exactly.
Could have been a chipmunk.
No, oh, I know what it is. Is that what you're touching on giving a personality to your work log? Some build logs are just so kind of sterile that it just kind of, yeah. I mean, they're doing nice work, but there's nothing I haven't seen before, or whatever. Try to make it fun as well.
One of the things that I usually like is you have your two kinds as far as I'm concerned. Like you have your stage pictures, like this is where I'm at this stage, and then I did stuff, and now I'm at this stage, and now I did stuff, and now I'm at that stage. And then you also have your in progress photos, like this is how I did this, this is how I did that, this is how I did that. And I really enjoy seeing the process, because that's really where you learn from other people, is
that is true,
how they do things.
Yeah, there has been this growth of people that will start a work log just posting all the product photos and several photos of the same product over maybe like 3 or 4. I think one photo, really good photo, can illustrate that product. And I think they kind of get sucked up into I gotta appease my sponsor or whatever. And like you're saying, next thing you see an update and it's like whatever they finished, but how did you reach that point? I mean, how do we know you actually did it? You see a lot of that. There's people trying to push for sponsorships and stuff, and just I guess a really good point is don't forget the human element of who the builder is. We want to know who that is.
Yeah, I've walked away from I don't know how many build logs because it started off with the rank and file of the stuff. So, fittings, there's a field of fittings. Well, dude, I know what one fitting looks like. You don't need to show me what 38 of the same fitting looks like. And then they'll do the same thing with the tubes that they're going to use. They line them all out. It looks pretty, but it doesn't serve a purpose for the build. And that's what I'm there for. I want to see your method. I want to see how you think your way through a problem. Cheapskate is beautiful for that because he works himself into a corner, and I swear he's doing it on purpose so he can figure out a way to get back around.
Yeah, his logs really tell a story. And it's a one-of-a-kind story that nobody else. I mean, yeah, it's.
Sometimes that story looks like it was written by Stephen King on acid, but yes.
Exactly. When there's progress of like he's working on something that's like a bathroom sink. He's using a bathroom sink as a bench top, but the bathroom sink looks like it's not your average bathroom sink location. It's like very darkly lit, and like what is going on here? But I mean, those are fun. I mean. Going back to tribal overkill, and unfortunately, the web has eaten up all this stuff because he never, again, had good photo hosting. Some of his work logs were just the best to watch because he was also driven to the point of being maniacal about how much detail of things that when he would cut things by hand, because he did everything by hand, and it would be very sophisticated designs, and he would also bend metal by hand. Moss, do you remember tribal overkill?
No.
It was probably before your time.
Yeah,
but,
I was to say, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember the name, but the details of some of this. Like, I'm remembering the stuffed animals. That's definitely something that's
there was a SpongeBob episode in one of his build logs. I remember. see, I could actually remember it, and that was probably, man, it could have been like 8 years ago or 9 years, maybe or longer. But anyways, we're kind of deviating from our point here. Mas, like, you've gotten more focused. You, along with Captain Curry Sauce and Stu and Greg, have gotten more focused on improving your product photos when you guys do product reviews. What have you what did you start out with, and what have you now graduated to make things more convenient and look even better?
Well, what did I start out with? Not much. Um, I started out, actually here, let me see if I can dig up some stuff. I started out pretty basic. This wasn't for a review, but one
Veg.
example was from some final pictures of one of my mods. Like I just used a white and gray sheet if it was big, or I just used one sheet if it wasn't. And I would just use one of those lamps that had the three different lights on it. So like I just pointed them slightly away, so that way they weren't direct light, but then the diffused shades on the lamp. I'll show a picture of the lamp later. So basically, I just kind of bounced the light off the ceiling or the wall or whatever, something white that wouldn't screw up the colors, but not have direct light. And then I moved
Oh,
on for a
what a
little
difference,
while.
man.
I moved on to a setup like this, which well, this is the lamp. Still use the same lamp plus two desk lamps. There's little desk lamps, but I mean, this was just, it's a little folding table. Actually, I think this one might have been a coffee table. And I put a frame that I built, you can see it just out of like white
PVC.
PVC pipe and some angled fittings and T-fittings and stuff. And then I bought a black bed sheet for the background. I also bought a white one for white backgrounds. And then I bought some really lightweight fabric from the fabric store. It was like
Mhm.
maybe $8 worth of fabric here and like a $5 bed sheet and maybe $7 or $8 worth of PVC, a couple of clamps, and you just shine the light through it. And I was able to get results like this with it.
It's
Like,
beautiful.
and this was with a point and shoot camera.
Exactly. Again, this is a perfect example of manipulating light. And if you go back to that other picture, Moss, and people that are watching this, what you're doing is you're diffusing the light that's shining on the PC case by filtering it with the sheet. Very, and it kind of goes back to Brian's setup where you use scrims, which is I don't know exactly what the material is. It's used by professional photographers to diffuse light, and there's different grades of it. I do know that this stuff is expensive, and you have to build your own framework for it. But Moss just took a DIY approach with a bed sheet. Did you have to buy that bed sheet, or did you take it off the bed and piss off your wife?
No, I did buy it specifically for pictures. I have a black, a gray, and a white.
Now, you don't use those anymore, though.
No, I do not. I'm trying to find a picture of it. Somewhere I know I've posted pictures. Actually, a good way to find my setup, I'll see if I can find the link, is I posted a video on the Modzu YouTube channel about a behind the scenes look at how I
New garage, right?
no, this was behind the scenes, and I'll post it. I can't post it on live chat. I'll add it to the video description eventually, but it was on the Modzu channel, or if you go to the Modzu homepage and somewhere in there we have, if you hover over the Modzu tube, you know what? We have this fancy pants thing. I can do that. With the screen share. If you go to the modzu.com, this is a drop down where you can see video categories for just all the Modzu videos and whatnot. So if you go to that, it's in here. We have all of our videos posted in there. It's the behind the scenes for the Raven X, and it kind of shows. I don't want to have volume. There we go. It'll show you basically my setup, and it's nothing really fancy. I mean, it's kind of nice. It's paper that I just have hung up on the wall with some curtain rod hangers and a rod going between them. And it's just background paper is what it is. It's seamless background paper. It's on a folding table. And I have some nice lights now that you can kind of see. They're like on these little stands, and they're just these light boxes that have these diffusing covers on them. And that, I mean, I paid probably $80 for the set. There's one here, I have one more here, and then there's one on a long arm that hangs above it, and it helps a lot.
Yeah, it
because
does.
it makes editing your photos, once you do go to try and make sure you don't have any weird like wrinkles in the sheet or anything like that. The paper gets rid of that, and the good lighting is just makes everything a lot easier and a lot faster to set up and stuff.
Did you get that idea about the paper roll from Brian?
Yes.
Yeah, because
That's the first time I saw it
Yeah.
being used, and
His was like at least 12 feet long.
yeah,
He goes to a professional photography supplier and buys his rolls, like depending on what color, like a light gray or whatever atmosphere theme you want to create. And it totally dawned on me, like when you start moving a case that's 50 pounds around on paper or a finished system, you're going to crease it, you're going to scuff that paper. Just pull out the roll, rip it off, clean palette once again, so you don't have to go in there and Photoshop and fix all the imperfections that you made.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to go.
And I got those from, I think it was B&H Photo, and it was like 25 or $27 for a 53-inch wide by, what was it, like 15 meters, I think. It was, I mean, it's a big roll of paper, so hopefully won't need to buy a new one anytime soon. But they also sell them in bigger sizes too if you, for whatever reason, need something bigger. But I was able to, if anybody has seen the review of the Core X71, that was a huge case, and I managed to take pictures of that on just the 53-inch wide paper. So,
And if I remember correctly, if you have the money to throw at it, they also do have the retractable racks that you can hang multiple rolls off of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. I saw
Next
those.
year.
Yeah.
I figured I would just take the same approach that I have with those curtain rod hangers, just put another set above it, and then drop that paper down behind the one in front of it, basically, and then I can just pull down whichever one I want and roll it back up, and I don't know, we'll see. For now, I just switch them out.
I'm just looking at the comments in the YouTube, and what do you guys do for backgrounds? That sounds like Insolent Gnome. Somebody did use black muslin. I don't know how big of a sheet that was, but yeah, post what you guys do for your own setups when you guys take pictures. I know you got to take into consideration that a lot of people are like they're in dorm rooms. They don't have the space, so go outside. Kind of like I do. I scout locations outside that at a certain time of day know that it's just the right lighting. Like here at the warehouse in the parking lot, there's these light gray concrete buildings around all these nooks and crannies, and at certain times of the day, you can go in there and take pictures or whatever for decent lighting and backdrop.
Using the flat top out there, you used that for the Pimp Rig tribute case.
Yeah, I did that, and actually, I was doing it for a while. I was doing it for videos. Moss and I did a video with the D-Frame Mini. Jesse and I did a video with the Fantex Primo. And it seemed like the ideal lighting was like right around early evening, say between 5 and 6 o'clock in the summertime. But my point is that just kind of evaluate what you have around you, not necessarily in the room you're in. But here's another thing I did too. I took some product pictures in our bathtub, the white porcelain bathtub, because there's nice daylight that comes in through there, midday. It's a white background. It's already set up for you.
As long as you clean it first.
Exactly. Well, the wife would love that too. Yeah. Just kind of think about what's around it. And sometimes too, it doesn't have to be just a white background, just black. It can be on your workbench. We've all done photos on our workbench to kind of gives you an idea of the environment that you work in and stuff like that.
Yeah, really the only time I use background is if I'm doing final pictures for a mod. Otherwise, everything else I try to push some of the crap off to the sides of the bench so I can get some open space around it. But I don't know. It's one of those things where if every picture is on a background, it's kind of boring. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, Bill, here's a throwback for you. The old habit that people used to use of the cigarette pack for scale.
Yes. Marlboro Red often. And today, what is it today, guys? It is
Coke
the
can.
Coke can.
Which is hard for me because I don't drink anything that comes in a can.
Caffeine free? Can you have caffeine free? No.
I just don't do anything carbonated, so
yeah.
I have to take a canned juice from work or something.
Yeah, I used a Coke can recently for something. I don't remember what it was, but I'm like, oh, yeah, Coke can reference. Yep. Yeah, I don't remember what it was though. Often that happens with rendering when people are rendering stuff. Cocan is like the universal measurement. You know, it wasn't that long ago that you guys in Sweden got Coca-Cola, isn't that right? Isn't that I recall that somebody in Sweden a few years ago were like, "Hey, we got Coca-Cola here now." Maybe I'm wrong, but it was just somebody in Sweden, I think. How much time we got left, Drew?
We got 23 minutes.
All right. Yeah, anyone throw some questions? We'll try to answer them. We were going to have a couple of other Modzu staffers in here that have photo setups, little studios, but they just didn't have time tonight. I think it's the weather. Finally, in Minnesota, we've got some kick-ass weather that I actually asked myself, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Oh, we got the live monkey weather cam going on here in a moment. As soon as the camera stops blowing itself out. Yeah, all we got was that painful white glare.
Yeah, I forgot that I don't have the auto white balance on, or the auto light settings, because otherwise it goes nuts, and so that sucked. Sorry. Try again later.
Well, let's touch on the fact that we're not going to do this consecutively every Hangout. Next week, we're going to do something different. We haven't finalized it yet. Also, post ideas for us, and it's okay to post it in the comments a week after this video has been out. We try to catch those. I noticed somebody commented on a previous Hangout we did, and Drew and I were talking about another topic. We want to kind of touch on like how the community, the mod community, was built, where it came from, our experience, because we're old timers now. We've witnessed a lot of stuff over the last couple of decades. Do we even dare say that?
Oh, get off my lawn!
But we are going to we're going to keep revisiting this topic for a while. We want to get into more in-depth editing your photos, like in adding watermarks, and we hope to do a screen share where we actually do it live and post it to a forum thread. Create a forum thread and post the photo that's hosted into the log so people understand how that is done. Moss?
Well, I guess we could. No, go ahead, Moss.
I don't know. Phil just said my name.
Oh. What do you think about doing a screen share of we actually add a watermark, so you can add your own watermark in Photoshop, and then show how to post that photo, post to a host, and then post it in the Modzu worklog form?
Probably could. Do you want me to try and do that now, or are we going to set that up for next time?
No.
Good.
No, future. We're just talking about what we're going to do in continuing this series, this topic. We'll take a break next week, though, from it.
Yeah. Now, I guess we could close out a little bit if we don't have any questions that jump right up. Continuing with light on your camera settings, Stu brought up a good point for us before we started, sent it out to us on Skype. If you have a camera, point and shoot, or any of the other, if you've got the expensive bodies, you've got a smartphone, whatever, if you can get into the manual settings, you want to work your ISO settings. You want to get that number as low as you possibly can before it starts to get really ugly. Because what it is the lower the ISO setting, the more light has to saturate that sensor. It used to be with film, you would have a lower ISO, meant you actually had a higher density of the material on the film that captured the light. So if you're going for an action shot, you wanted to have a thinner layer that didn't need as much light to expose, so it would be good for a snappy photo. Those would be the 400, 800 ISOs. The problem with that is because there's less of the material on the substrate, you get grain in the photo and it just kind of looks nasty. But when you have a higher concentration, that lower ISO, yeah, you've got to open up the lens more and you've got to let more light soak in, so you have a better chance if there's any jostling that it's going to smear. But it also means you're going to get a much richer, a much more lush photo at the end of it. And so you want to have a tripod, you want to have, if you're using something that has interchangeable lenses on it, you want a low f-stop, but that's a whole other line of theory that can burn up an entire week's worth of chat. But it all involves light. You want to get the highest concentration of light onto that sensor.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree.
And it's all about also setting up your exposure time. If you have a low light place that you can't change, you can't throw a Klieg light up in the corner in order to get a good shadow, you want to have a longer exposure time. So you set up on a tripod and you try not to kick it during the middle of the photo.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've done that so many times. And I've done that kick where you see the camera kind of tilt and teeter. It's like, whoa! Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And then,
I just updated a tripod finally too. I got a kick-ass one that's heavy as a tank.
I bought one that was the exact same as the previous one that I had already had on Amazon. I got it, and the thing's a pile of crap because they just oh man, they went from this is a really good budget tripod to why would you do that?
You got a link
the loose
to warn everybody. Let's warn everybody from staying away from this thing. Can you show us what it is?
It was a sun pack. I'd have to look up the exact
the sun pack.
My first one I was really happy with, but the second one, the plastic is really brittle. The aluminum is super thin.
Piece of crap. I've got. Yeah. I think, Moss, if I'm not mistaken, my first one is a sun pack.
They're decent for the money. At least they used to be. But man, this last one sucked. One tip is. We might wait till Bill gets back, but
this is a slick.
We'll just listen to him. More fun that way. And so that pretty much wraps up the entire Hangout. So yeah, no. What I was gonna say was one trick is use even if you have just a point and shoot, use the self timer feature and a tripod. So set it up for like 2 seconds if it has that, or whatever. If you only have 10 seconds, it doesn't really matter. Just set the self timer. That way when you push the button, it kicks off the self timer, and then you can step back and not touch anything, so you don't have to worry about anything you're doing, moving the camera or shaking the camera and making things fuzzy when you take the picture.
The best money I've put into my photos is I've got a hand release that I step away from the entire thing and I just push a button, doesn't touch the camera at all, no shaking, and yeah, I can snap off. I can set it up so it'll snap off like 20 consecutive photos for me. It has its own timer settings. It's great, and it only cost me $15.
Yeah, that's what I use now. Actually, now I hook it up to. Well, we can get into that later, but in that same video, I hook it up about the Raven X behind the scenes. I hook mine up to my tablet and a monitor, and I actually use that to take the picture. I set it to do the picture, and then I get a big, 24-inch screen worth of real estate. But
some people use Lightroom. That's an Apple. Isn't that an Apple product, Lightroom?
Probably. I use Digicam Control for mine.
I know Jesse, Captain Curry Sauce, mentioned that too, that he was doing that. On the topic of tripods, I think we can officially say that they're beaters. They can be beaters, right? Sun pack, right? This one was a cheapie that I was given as a gift, and you can see it's a beater because it was used in a painting environment, right? But it's super light, and just like Moss said, it's had some injuries, but why get rid of it? Because you never know. I mean, there'd be some environment that you don't want to have your nicer tripod in. The other one I got is a slick, and I got a good deal on it, but it's like a professional grade. It's built like a tank. It's not really something I want to haul around a lot. It's like it's a studio grade tripod, but it all really depends on what you want to drop. But I mean, this served its purpose for several years. Hey, Well, what was the one that you got, Moss, that you didn't like because they did some changes to it?
Yeah, here, give me a sec. It was this one. It was the 6080, 620-080. This is the original one that I had, and this one has been great. This is the new model, and it sucks. So I definitely don't recommend that one. Just everything plastic-wise is super brittle feeling, and the head on the tripod has a lot of flex to it, this part of it. This is the old one, and it did a lot better. But yeah, the new one I've been not very happy with, so I might return it because
those flapper compression things, the one that do that to try to lock on.
Yeah.
Inevitably, I've always had one fail. So
Yes.
as soon as you put weight on, it just flips open.
Yeah.
And so you wonder why your camera suddenly tilts.
Yes. In fact, one of them is broken on mine. Yep. Yeah, that is correct.
If you can my personal opinion from what I've gone through, always get the twist compression legs. That's just going to save you a lot of heartache. And
you know
a
what?
little extra weight in the material too. The aluminum needs to have some body to it.
You know what I've done when I was, first starting out, super cheap, resourceful Bill, what do I have on hand? I would actually remove the stick from a floor sweep broom and put the camera on top of that to hold it just so it was steady. Just so I had one point on the floor, it's steady. No height adjustability, but it was steady.
The company Photog that I work with, he's been lending me equipment. He took one of those telescoping hiking rods. It looks basically a ski rod.
Yes.
And so he's got his telescoping and everything like that. He just chopped the top, I think, 2 inches off of the handle and inserted the threaded bolt. And he just ties his whatever he wants to on top of that. His really heavy lenses, I mean, that thing will hold up to a human weight, 200 plus pounds. So it's definitely going to stand up to the weight of a good lens plus a body. And I think he said it cost him at the end of the day $35.
Yeah. Now let's talk about video equipment. No.
Uh-oh. No. I was going to say...
we run out of ideas.
Well, I was going to say from the YouTube chat, somebody, I think we might have covered this in one of the earlier ones, but recommendations for size of pictures. What size do you usually share?
Oh, me, I think I'm doing 700 wide, 700 res wide because it works on my site. But I think, didn't we agree that for the form, no larger than 1024 or 1080p?
1024 768 is what I've been editing to.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's for our reviews. Like when we post articles and reviews, we use 1024 by 768. When I host my pictures, I used to have 2 sizes. I'd have 640 by 480 because they load like that, which is nice for people that may not have fast connections or if they're on their phone in the middle of nowhere, who knows. So you can get a decent amount of detail out of small pictures if you frame it and you get closer to what you're doing. But then I also have all of those. I have, like I was showing before, I have 2 sets where I have those 768 or 640 by 480, and then I also have 1600 by 1200 if I wanted to show higher resolution. But I've since switched to doing 3 sizes where I have the 640, the 1600, and then I also have 1024 by 768 now because that's kind of more of a middle road where they still load quick because they're small files, but they don't take forever to load and they're a little bit bigger. I'm on another forum for woodworking stuff, and 640 is the max width any pictures will be before they get clipped off. So that's why I still use 640 by 480 for some stuff.
To realize it's 2016 in their forum there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think at one point we discussed like what we should have as an allowance on the Modzu before it got resized automatically, or something. I think it was 1080 or 1024. I don't recall. It was right around there that we wanted to try to dictate for everybody to use. Um, Once in a while, you do see those people that pop up somewhere that they're at like 2000p, and it's like,
Or just the standard, like, whatever it is, 12 megapixel, 4000 by 3000.
oh
It's like,
no, unedited,
could
raw.
you please resize those? And it's not that we don't want to see detail. It's that I'd like to see the detail today.
Right.
If
Exactly.
I'm on my cell phone, I don't want to have to scroll over 18 times to see the edge of the photo.
Or you just see these pictures of a dark bedroom, and there's my project over there. Do you see where it's. It happens once in a while. But anyways, anywho.
Yeah, and Peter Brands brought up a good point too. Is he said he uses 550 wide because it's compatible with almost all forums, and then he said it's linked to an image that's 2560 pixels wide, and that's not a bad approach either. If you want to give them the option to see what the diamond knurling on this one fitting looks like, make it a link from your smaller version. Because then that also helps you out if you're on a photo hosting site like, for example, PhotoBucket, where if your log goes crazy and you've had like 1 million views in 3 days, and PhotoBucket goes, you've been using a lot of bandwidth, so we're going to shut your pictures down. So the smaller the picture, the less bandwidth you're going to use. So that's also a good approach too, because then you can still give users that want to see detail the details without destroying your bandwidth on your hosting.
Yeah, the whole photo bucket thing scares the hell out of me, man. But people don't know. I mean, they're going to go to what's the easiest, and cheapest, and a lot of people use Imager as well, But you'll pay the price later, though, if that log gets shared like some media site or a big Twitter account, like NVIDIA, if they share a link to your log. Or some other company similar to that has a big following, So
Yeah, throwback to a bit to the SEO that we've discussed about, properly naming your photos.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was looking up the specs on one of the keyboards that I reviewed a couple of years ago, and one of my photos came right up at the top of the list.
That's what you want. Awesome. That's great.
And so, yeah, that's a great sign of you get that proper naming in there, Google starts picking it up, and you're going to be right there on the top of everyone's list, and you won't even have to fight.
That's how you draw in the traffic to whatever the content is you're doing. So many people now use Google Images to find things. Oh, I'm just gonna, instead of reading text, I just want to see the picture and where it's at, and go there. And yep, absolutely.
It's also a good way to get ideas too. I know this is, hey, look, here's the main topic, and we're going that way. But when you do look at image searches, it's kind of fun to get ideas. We're like, hey, I have insert name and brand of case. I wonder what other people are doing with it. You just go to image search and see what other people are doing, like what mods other people are doing, and see what's going on to get ideas. It's kind of fun if yours shows up at the top, because you'd be like, hey, look at that.
Right on. Yep. Don't forget Bing too. Bing has gotten very good. Just don't forget. And what I'll do sometimes is I'll do a search, like just even over this last week, PC case mods, something that came up published in another country that maybe we would have never heard about or seen because it wasn't posted in a community forum that we visit. I'll do that if I have time to see what's going on out there. So I know we kind of deviated from the main topic, but hey, it all comes together, right?
It's all about having fun.
Absolutely. And that's what the best conversations do around here anyway, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're coming up on our hour, and so I just want to remind everyone that, first of all, we've got our forums at themodzoo.com where we host our reviews, all of the work logs, just all kinds of great, insane stuff going on there. You can see all of our staff's work. You can see everyone else's work that's come to join in and share. From there, we've got links over to our Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got Google Plus. You can now link out directly to our videos here back at the ModZoo Tube. And yeah, just in general, whatever you want to see, you can throw questions at us everywhere. We've got all kinds of forums that you can, all kinds of subtopics, I mean, that you can drop in on. And I also want to thank the folks who've been watching us and sharing with us at the on the YouTube chat. And it's great.
Thanks, guys, for watching and chatting about kitty cats on the internet. That's cool.
It all comes back to cats.
Well, I mean,
cats
look at
and one other thing.
Had to get his cat in there to steal the show.
Well, I figured I might as well let him in and run around rather than have him sit outside the door meowing at me.
Right.
Cat.
You didn't think the internet wanted to listen to the cat screaming bloody murder as it's trying to claw its way through?
Let me in! Let me in! No! Let me in! Let me in! Go away!
So next week, Bill and I were kind of tossing this around, and one of the topics that I realized that we really hadn't broached yet here was what really is the mindset that created modding? What, we talk about behind the scenes. Bill and I like to talk about choppers and the folks that made some of the greats, and you got Ed Roth who did some fantastic cars throughout the 60s. Ed Roth? And nobody's heard of the Ratfink? Oh no. And so, just that entire culture of taking, like motorcycles in general, of course, started when the guys were coming back from World War II, the fighter pilots, World War I actually, I believe, and they just nothing really felt right to them ever since they strapped themselves behind that engine and were soaring off at a couple of 100 miles an hour with the wind blowing through their face. And so they started building their own motorcycles, taking the pre-made motorcycles that were out there and just making them better and customizing them and chopping them up, which is where the term choppers came from. And over the years, that became its own wonderful culture, and somebody decided that they were going to do the same thing for cars, trucks, and that exploded up through the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I don't think anyone who's lived through the 50s doesn't have a story of a hot rod that they fell in love with on first sight. And to me, case modding is just that natural extension. It's that next step. Yeah, it's not big and flashy in the way that you're going to get a 454 big, huge rumbling engine on your desk, but you can paint it the same way. You can make it look like a hot rod, and you can give it the lighting that simulates flames coming out of the exhaust stack. And that's just something that I've been wanting to talk about and really dig into, because Bill and I, as he was saying, we've seen several years of the growth of all of this, and from the plain white beige box all the way up through to now where we've got, you walk into a store and you can't find a plain beige box anymore unless you custom order it.
Let's bring it back. We're bringing back the beige, man.
I would love to see a company just do the plain. I guess I would just want to call them the wow, the word just completely left. Canvas. Yeah, there we go. A plain canvas. And
well, do you remember when Corsair did that April Fool's joke a few years ago? We're going to release 900D in beige. Yep. If you read the comments on their Facebook, some people actually like that idea.
Yes. What about just well, oh man, we're gonna go on till like Tuesday at this rate. Like Hardware Labs, they released a bunch of primer-only radiators. What about a primer-only computer case? There's an idea to think about for next time.
And Case Labs they were offering. I don't know if they still did, but they had an option for that. Yeah, you could get it in primer finish and do your own paint. Yeah. No, I get. Yeah, totally. I'm on board with where Droog's at. Is like customizing, modding, personalizing your stuff. Like when you get a new case, you guys watching, that. Are you going to leave the OEM fans in that chassis? Come on now, really. I've got drawers and drawers full of 140 millimeter, 120 millimeter factory fans that I don't know what to do with. So,
I've got writ like this. I haven't changed this out, but one of these days the Cooler Master badge is just going to disappear. I won't know where it went, but yeah, it's a nice looking case. This is one of the half cases, and I really like the look of it as is. But that's not what modding is about.
No.
I did strap one of our little Modzu badges right to the front because obviously that's what I needed to do. Let's see if I can pull that off.
Right? Make it yours.
Yeah, that little beast right there. I'm gonna throw some paint on that little sucker here and.
Yeah, and they said like custom bikes. I remember one of the bike builders said, "Well, why do I do this? Because when you're at a rally, you walk out right away. People know which bike is yours. Hey, that's Droog's bike. I know Droog's bike. I mean to separate yourself, and so yeah, that's definitely would be a fun topic, and I could fucking get going all day about that. Indian Larry, Ed Roth, come on."
Oh God, yeah.
All right.
And any of you that are currently in the YouTube or anyone who watches this later on down the line, if you've got any stories you want to share, write them up, drop them into the forum, Facebook, onto the YouTube, on the same video. You can just drop a comment, we'll find it. The more the merrier. This is one of those topics that I think we could easily keep coming back to.
Yeah, Moss, you had started a subforum just for the Hangouts for people to post stuff like that.
Yes, I did, and that is somewhere. I think it's under the podcast and Hangout subforum. It's under. We have the Modzu official podcasts and weekly staff Hangout subforum, and then we have weekly staff Hangouts, and we have one where we post the videos, and then another one where there's room for Q&A. So if there's anything that you want to ask us, that would probably be the easiest tracked place. We do try, like Bill said, to check all the comments in YouTube and keep an eye on all that stuff, but the forums is definitely going to be the easiest place for us to track down your questions and comments and suggestions and all that kind of stuff. And that's what we want. We want to hear from you guys because, I mean, that's kind of why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
Alrighty. So, we're a little bit over our usual allotted time, so I guess we're going to wrap things up. Again, themodzu.com. Also, make sure to spend some time over on mnpctech.com. Bill has some expensive children that he's got to keep paid for.
Yes, my children have discovered these athletic shoes that are apparently no. The whole athletic shoe thing. Never mind. Don't worry about me.
But no, I've always been a fan of even just hanging out there to see what new ideas he's throwing up against the wall to see what's going to stick. So it's always entertaining. It's like the Sears catalog, Christmas catalog, only it's active year-round.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely no problem. Alrighty, folks, you have yourself a great one. Feel free to drop in anytime on the Modzu. And while you're at it, get out there and hack something up. Make it yours. Mod it. Whatever it is, we don't care.
Right on.
Have a good one, guys.
See you guys next week.
Thanks for watching.